My name's Chris.
Buongiorno, I'm Christy.
And this is the Washing Up Podcast. And we've got 2 eliminations to talk about because finals week and why not?
I know, it's like one we expected and then surprise!
So
elimination!
No, you referred to it earlier as kill your darlings. What we didn't know was it would be rapid slaughter.
I know. It's kind of like just line them up at the slaughterhouse and lead them through.
They're being taken down the race as we speak.
I had that described to me in very clear detail over a lamb roast once. I thought, guiding days, right? And my first muster, which is like when all the guides from across New South Wales,
Yep.
Or not every guide, but like most guide units came together in a big kind of, it's like a scout jamboree. Anyway, it's a big camping thing for a week. And I thought I was getting a reprieve because my aunt and uncle lived nearby in Gunnedah and they came and picked me up. And I thought, I get to have a hot shower, I get to have a nice hot meal that's not got ash through it or with the wafting smell of the toilets close by. And it was great because a second cousin was there who worked at the local abattoir.
Oh, wonderful.
And then I got to know all the ins and outs. I still didn't end up vegetarian, so you're going to have to try harder.
So look forward to that story on our upcoming Guides and Scouts podcast, Dib, 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 Don't. So back to the washing up.
Yes.
And we have a dual elimination and, again, always a particularly sad point of the competition.
Ooh.
For me, particularly sad last night because I can't say it.
Let's just take a moment, though, for all the fallen. It's like that moment in the Hunger Games.
There's an in memoriam. You can't see it, people, but right behind us at the moment on a screen,
yes.
We've got an in memoriam just flowing all over. And
that's what the opening of MasterChef feels like at the moment.
Now at the moment.
You're hot and you're cold.
Yeah.
There's Mish and Eliza. They're out and they're out.
What it needs to be now, I think, is black and white. And sort of that soft da-da-da-da and slow-mo everything they were doing. So like that Mish moment where she's shaking the gold leaf and missing.
And just to cut to everyone else in the audience just clapping.
Yeah, they cut back to the couple of them on the gantry just going.
A close-up of someone who worked closely with them.
The Vespa looking sad.
Yes.
So we opened up last night without a shot of the Vespa.
Yeah.
It hurt me. That hurt me almost as much as what happened at the end, to be honest.
Well, it was a foretelling. And as we heard from Elena, there was a season without the Vespa.
And since then they decided they must have the Vespa there at all times. So last night they decided to do, normally you do a really tricky challenge for the start of finals week. What we didn't count on was insanity. and Sean Quaid's dish, Pearl on the ocean floor.
Yes.
Really up to the insanity.
It's like he was just let out of the Arkham Asylum. Allowed to bring out one of his dishes.
See, the way that I viewed it, in terms of looking at his dish and the craziness, it was a bit like Tonight where they went, cook whatever you want. It's like someone went to him, you're a chef, you're a big executive chef, do whatever you want. And his response was 8 pages. 8 pages. And I liked the fact that at the end of the challenge, Diana, which is at the very end of the challenge, and Diana's like, now I'm trying to remember the order of things he put on the plate at the start.
Good luck with that. I mean, Sarah at least did a diagram, much that it helped her, but, at least
Sarah did a drawing, which, in hindsight, she could possibly have served.
Yes, exactly.
Might have helped.
Now, just an aside, every time I heard Sean Quaid, for some reason I got John Johns in my head, like from Supergirl and like the DC universe.
Well, see,
I just expect him to be the Martian Manhunter.
See, for me, they say Sean Quaid so fast. I thought they said originally I wasn't watching, and I thought they said Jean Quan, who, of course, is the monk at the start of season 3 of Chef's Table. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, that's a coup.
And I brought in the kimchi that we ferment for hundreds of years. You must make it in 2 hours.
Yes, this kimchi's been fermenting for hundreds of years. You got an hour and a half. Go. And George is like, what are you doing? Ferment faster, damn it. Come on, yeah? This is a competition, yeah? Ferment this 100-year-old stuff, yeah? So So let's just quickly run through the dish. Now, I took a review from one of the media outlets today who did a recap, and the headline in this article was Sarah goes home from MasterChef. That was they've given up on headlines. I swear.
Oh, no.
Sarah Tiong goes home on MasterChef. That was it.
Look, they might have been just as devastated as you were, and just were too sad to.
And then the other headline they came up with, and this is on the article. Sarah Tiong, who shone in Japan Week, has been eliminated from MasterChef Australia. That's not a headline. That's the first sentence of a story. So can we just copywriters? I mean, I know you're all getting sacked at the moment because, the media's dying, but can we keep some copywriters who can understand what a headline is? Because as an educator, when I try to teach people to write a feature article and I say do a headline, they don't know what I mean. Right, so this is from the article. This is how they describe the dish. Quade's dish consisted of sea bream with a miso and pine nut ice cream, within a pearl, saltbush, Meyer lemon marmalade, mussels, mussel foam, bonito fluid gel, wild scampi caviar, grilled cuttlefish, a soft meringue wave, sand, and a Pacific oyster. And a partridge in a pear tree.
But the way they've said that there is sand, it sounds like actual sand from the beach, not like a made sand.
Australia, a nation of sand.
Yes, it's also described in the pearl, I didn't hear it was probably something in the pearl, but then it sounds
pine nut ice
everything
cream
else
within a pearl. Yes.
Yeah, but I heard it as everything else is in the pearl.
That's a big pearl.
No
wonder Sarah's broke.
That dish did look like a terrarium.
Yeah, it had the look to me of if you've ever seen Archer, and there's a dish that he makes in honor of his butler.
Go. I know where you're going.
And it's the most extravagant, and I recommend highly that if you've never watched Binging with Babish on YouTube, go to Binging with Babish and just type in Eggs Woodhouse for good. Eggs Woodhouse, to give you an idea, is topped at the end with beluga caviar. So it is the most extravagant, and when the guy who does Binging with Babish, which is a show where he replicates all of the food from TV and movies, it's amazing. Mm-hmm. He obviously can't replicate the dish completely because beluga caviar is illegal, but he does a version of it with caviar that is legal, and he felt so bad that he actually started up a fundraising page to give to a local food bank because he said he couldn't, in all good conscience, make this dish. So I'm just going to say to you, go to Binging with Babish online and go and watch him make Eggs Woodhouse for good. It's sort of, I think, if Sean Quade's dish was a bit creamier, it would have been this.
Yes. And we too would be making donations to food banks.
Yeah, right now, just from watching it. So in the challenge last night, they talked very early on, they dropped hints about the pearl. And they kept on dropping hints about the pearl, and they kept on dropping hints about the pearl and saying that the pearl was important. The pearl was the most important element. The pearl was going to be critical.
It turned out to be the foam.
Well, and the pearl, because Sarah broke the first one.
Oh, that's right. She just got a little bit too.
Now, the moment that Sarah, and again, sentences you never thought you'd hear yourself say in this series of MasterChef, as they all attacked the pearl with a Dremel, not a sentence again. It's used to being
in
heard.
A kitchen, possibly in a jewelry making shop. When they've got to
when it's a real pearl, you mean, and not like a shell thing you've made.
Yeah, to thread it through to make a necklace.
But like Diana, just careful and through, and then careful and through, and then Sarah, who was sort of a bit Sarah panicky, which I love Sarah panicky, but she gets the hole and then goes, oh, but it's a bit lopsided and not very good.
I'll just sand it back.
I'll just sand it back. And the way she's holding the pearl and holding the Dremel, you're just looking at it, and they didn't need to use the tension music cue they normally use. Everyone at home, and Twitter, before she did it, for about 30 seconds before when she was suggesting the idea of sanding it down, everyone on Twitter just went, she's so broken. This is broken. That's it. She's breaking it. And then they didn't even need to show it. They just showed her face going, oh.
Yes, Tamara and the gantry throwing her hands up. It was just that, It was like the moment when Fee dropped her pie.
Yeah, it was very much.
Except Sarah used a lot less colourful words.
It really did remind me a lot of the dropping of the pie, but yeah, without the swearing.
Yeah.
So well done, Sarah, on restricting that. That was quite good, although I'd like to see the edit. I'm assuming there were a couple in there. She then made a second one, which was better, still not perfect. She didn't have the foam.
Her phone wouldn't fluff. I wonder what was going on.
Her phone wouldn't fluff. Again, another sentence you're not used to saying. There are certain things that MasterChef makes you say that in your wildest dreams you never anticipated saying.
My muscle foam wouldn't foam.
My muscle foam wouldn't fluff makes it sound like you've got some form of joint condition. What's going on with you, doctor? Doctor, I've been to the doctor. What did he say? Oh, he said my muscle foam wouldn't fluff. You know...
Have to take a couple of Voltaren
and
some
strength and tension resistance work and maybe some laps running up and down a pool and you'll be sweet.
And if that doesn't work, I've got to go to a physio. So.
Yeah, I'm getting my muscle foam work done at the physio right now. He's doing lots of exercises with me. So yeah, it was anticlimactic too because watching the way they were putting the dishes together and...
You just knew.
It was obvious. Like, the thing was, I was really hopeful. Obviously, I really wanted Sarah to make it through. But the second she broke the first pearl...
Yeah.
It was done at that point, and then she wasn't coming back from it.
And something you said to me last night, which I think is very true, is that the whole using the pin and the Eliza thing, I think that's screwed with her head. And you pointed that out.
Yeah, she never recovered. I don't think she ever recovered. After Sarah's quest to win the pin was such a big focus of the contest.
Yeah.
Once she won the pin, I think a little bit of that drive dipped. And then secondly, she was so in her own head about how to play it and didn't play it once but thought about it and it messed with her at the end of Japan week. And then when she got back, again, all the emotion of am I going to play the pin or not, I actually think having the pin at the end messed with her.
Yeah, because there was no moment for her to actually get out of that headspace and pick it up. Like, say, for example, she used the pin in Japan week. I think she would have come in, she might have had a down moment or something on the Wednesday and still served up, not the greatest dish. Then she would have come back into the elimination the following night, kicked its ass and be ready for finals week. But what happened was instead she had the pin, she didn't do well in that, and then she had the stress and the guilt of whether she uses it or not, and that whole idea of do I actually deserve to be here, and just that creeping undermining.
I think the other thing with the pin was if she'd used it in Japan week, I actually think it would have been better for her headspace wise because yes, it was a team challenge, not an individual challenge. And yes, it was a team challenge. They're like, I'm abandoning my teammates. But two things. First of all...
She didn't deserve to be in it.
Well, first of all, yeah, she was by far and away, those prawns that she made were outstanding. And they were
the Beetlejuice prawns.
They were the best dish of that night. And everyone loved them and absolutely adored them. And so Sarah had done something amazing there. So she would have had the ability to go, look, it wasn't me. I can do this. The second thing, though, was that if she'd done it in Japan, they wouldn't have put an extra person into elimination.
Yep.
Which means that it wouldn't have messed with her as much as knowing that you're putting someone into elimination and then that they went home on that challenge.
Exactly. I still think it's really unfair.
Oh, I'm with you 100%.
That's not consistent, that it should just be you use that pin without callback.
Yeah, I actually think that, there was a slight hint of being unfair there because it really did end up hurting her.
Exactly, because if it was used for that team, and that's, I think if it was used for that team challenge, there was none of that guilt. There's nothing of that.
No, then it would have just been two people in elimination and Sarah's like, well, I played my pin.
Yeah, exactly.
No one else had to worry about it. But be that as it may, when you get to this point of the competition, when you get to the 6 and then down to the 5 and then now obviously to the 4, you're going to lose someone good.
Yep.
There's no point here or from here on in, you're going to lose someone and go, oh, well, they shouldn't have been there in the first place. Because everybody who's got to this point has got there on merit.
Exactly. And I know there is some chatter from a few people on Twitter about Tamara's eligibility to be in finals week.
Which is rubbish.
Okay, she got a second chance, so what? So did everyone who rocked up that day. They all got a second chance and didn't quite make it. She did. And she's worked her butt off.
And the other thing we said about that second chance elimination thing, at the time. On one hand, she's more in the headspace of cooking in the MasterChef kitchen. On the other hand, everyone else who came back for that elimination challenge had been working in professional kitchens. Mm-hmm. So they'd been getting, like, trained. Like, you know, Reynolds had been training people. And
exactly. Like, the real contender there was Jess. Like, I honestly thought Jess was going to get through.
Yep. And again, they'd all been working with professionals, so that had a bit more. And they'd been working with professionals outside of this idea of time pressure and we only see you when you're on camera.
Yeah.
We actually will take time and work with you. So again, I think that, you know, while some people go, oh, she shouldn't have had the chance and, oh, how'd she come back? And it was all done because they wanted.
But they've always done second chance
exactly.
rounds.
They wanted to give everyone a chance to come back. And she won the chance to come back fair and square. And, you know, it just happened to be the timing.
Yeah.
I don't think the timing helped her in terms of for some people at home.
Yeah.
Having said that,
she totally deserves to be there.
She's cooked. She had a down couple of weeks. We said the other day.
Japan week wasn't her strongest.
But after that, she's blitzed it. And when we get to tonight, and which we're about to go into tonight now, she absolutely smashed it out of the park. And eliminated
PWNS tomorrow.
And eliminated some of her demons that she'd had from that other challenge where she had to do the same sort of challenge. Not the same thing, obviously, but like the moose with the sheen over the top of it and that challenge. So she did a really good job on that. So let's get into tonight. So we said farewell to Sarah last night.
Yes.
And we did get to almost as if they knew and they needed to ease my pain. As Sarah walks out the door and gets into the car, there's the Vespa. As if to say, Chris,
it's okay.
Everything's going to be all right.
Every little thing.
Yeah, the Vespa starts singing.
Right.
The Vespa starts singing "Three Little Birds."
Yeah.
But you know, that's what I started hearing. I was like, it's going to be okay. Sarah's going to be okay.
Yeah, and we found out she is. She's like working with Australian pork.
Yeah, and let's face it, if there's somewhere that Sarah could be working, it's Australian pork.
Yeah, and apparently it's like some pop-up restaurants. So that's going to be awesome.
In Sydney, no doubt, Sarah, because you've pushed Sydney as a market.
Yeah.
Now, again, as we said, we don't tell anyone where we live.
No,
because that would be
secret.
We're very much unbiased on that regard. But if, you know, you could open up your pork restaurant in, say, Sydney, and then maybe there could be a pirate bar that could open up in, I don't know, Sydney. I think this would be a good start. And then maybe an ice cream shop next door in Sydney. That's a good idea. I think that might work.
Three courses right there.
We will travel to Sydney. If you all open up there. I mean, again, where we live is a complete mystery and we won't reveal that to anyone because we are not biased towards any major city.
No,
Sydney, we're open for business. As I said the other day, unless it's after the certain because, you know, lockout laws. And we don't like people going to clubs late.
No. Now, so tonight, as we're watching, you've gone to me. It's like World of Warcraft. Like, that's a little left of field. What do you mean by that, Buchanan?
Okay, so I may have suggested tonight that it's a little bit like World of Warcraft at the moment. Now, before people start going, oh my God, no, I don't play it anymore.
Either do I. Anymore.
Haven't played it for a very long time. I decided that I liked weekends and outside.
I've been through at least 2 MMOs since then, and haven't played an MMO.
So my reasoning for it being like World of Warcraft. Now, again, if you're not anyone who's ever played any of these games, you're sitting there going, "Oh God!" Fast forward. It's about a minute and a half. Just fast forward.
But those who's played it are going to find this hilarious.
Those of you who are gamers out there will find this. Probably. Yeah, you're right. So in World of Warcraft, when the first sort of big raid, once they did all the expansions, which was Karazhan, which was the first 10-man raid. To get into Karazhan, you needed to do key quests. So you needed to do 3 quests to get parts of a key, which would open the door for Karazhan. Everyone had to be keyed. You don't anymore. It's one of the reasons why I stopped playing. Anyway, when you did these boss fights in these little key quests, they were mini versions of what you ended up having to do in Karazhan.
So they were training up your skills.
And then you took all of these boss fights that you'd done in small versions and you did them in a big raid at the end. So, for example, you might at the start come up against, I don't know, a hibachi grill.
Yes.
And
you learn how to use a hibachi grill.
Yeah, and then you might, learn how to make ice cream. And so you might use that skill. And then Pernod might come out a few times. Next thing you know, Pernod's in everything.
And then you might go, this chocolate orange mousse really sent me home last time. You know what I'm going to do?
Eat again.
Eat again.
And also honeycomb. And we might do honeycomb. what we've sort of learned, Kaiserflesh, Verjuice.
You haven't seen Kaiserflesh in a few weeks.
It's been a few weeks since Kaiserflesh,
time.
but for the first 3 weeks there was Kaiserflesh a go-go.
Yeah.
And as for the Verjuice, well, Maggie Beer was there in week 1. So what I mean by when I say it's a bit like World of Warcraft is there's a lot of taking all of the things that we've seen and they do it in a week, and then for the next 3 weeks you see nothing but that skill over the next 3 weeks because they've learnt this skill and now they're applying it in a real world situation. And by real world, I mean completely fake in the kitchen.
Completely constructed.
Real in their mind, though. That's about as real as you get for them. But
I mean, they're actually there. It's not like a figment of their imagination. They're not just standing around.
I don't know. George may be a vision, a really horrific vision of the future.
Arum's just pretending to grab some duck from the pantry.
Hang on. Trent may be the only real person.
What was Eliza then ripping out of the random nature strip?
No idea. What do you mean when Eliza ripped up all the garden?
Was the lavender that Ben got tonight?
Lavender. So
I think you get this.
So to take that a step further, if you had, and think about it, we had 5 tonight.
Yes.
So what we have there is a party that can go off and do a run.
We are the famous 5. George, Julian, Dick, and Anne. It is. It's the famous 5.
Okay, I would consider them more just like a normal party going off for a run in World of Warcraft.
So
So if you have to give them all a roll.
Oh, Gaston's the tank.
Gaston's the tank by a mile.
Yeah.
Gaston is the tank. I'm going to Mara's the healer because she's just bright and bubbly.
Yes, she's definitely the cleric.
Okay, so
DPS would be Diana because she's consistent and she's thorough. She just hammers at it till she gets it.
Yep, so she'd be a warrior.
Yeah. Actually, yes.
She'd be a warrior.
She'd be a warrior.
Yep,
nice
definitely a warrior.
You probably have what's the face here? Carly as long range. She'd be a mage.
Yep, Carly would be a mage. Definitely.
Yeah.
Arum has to be a druid.
He's the druid.
Has to be a druid.
And guess what? There's a rogue in the kitchen. Because you know who's eviscerated. What's it called? You know, when they're...
Yeah, eviscerate.
Eviscerate.
You're right. So,
it's Trent.
Yes, and Trent, it's actually, they've got a 6-person in their run. Yeah. It's the rogue. He's got sneak ability up on high and he's just eviscerating people.
Yeah.
That's actually what's happening, by the way. They're not getting voted out at the moment. It's not like they're losing and going, I'm sorry, your dish is not good. Yeah. Trent's actually just taking them one at a time.
Oh, dear. It's MasterChef Survivor.
So tonight's challenge, and speaking, but actually bringing it back to this, Arum, early at the start tonight, nearly stabbed people.
Oh, maybe.
When they had to pull the knives out of the block.
Well, you know, when a druid gets a sharp, pointy thing, he's not quite sure what to do.
So Arum pulled the knife out at one point, and they're like, oh, that might be and the winner is. Arum's like...
Is this how you do it, Diana?
It may well have been foreshadowing, of Arum's demise.
I'm now imagining when they get back to the MasterChef house, they play a round of D&D.
Roll.
Matt comes in as the games master, as the GM. He sets up his board and gets out his dice.
I like that idea.
Ben lights a scented candle.
And off we go. So tonight was Peter Gilmore, Ella Wolf-Tasker, Shannon Bennett, and Ross Lostert. Now, I did say at one point they're all sitting there looking at each other rather bemused, the 4 judges, and 3 of them are looking at each other as if to say, what are we doing here? And Shannon Bennett's looking at the back of George's head going, waiting patiently. So it was good because they're like, oh my God, Peter Gilmore. Oh my God, Ella Wolf-Tasker. Oh my God, Ross. Hey, Shannon. Sort of took you out of the moment a little bit, and speaking of taking you out of the moment, I liked that moment in this episode. It was completely uncalled for, but it just seemed to be a bit unusual because out of absolutely nowhere at one point.
Yeah.
Did you see what happened?
No.
Just up behind one of the benches. Did you see who popped up?
Who? Trent?
No, it wasn't Trent. It wasn't Trent. Who's been popping up everywhere in the last couple of days? He's got red hair and he sings.
Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, he was in the background. Did you know?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He's in everything now.
Oh, I thought I saw him at the beginning singing, you're hot and you're cold, you're yes.
He was behind the Vespa.
No. Yeah, he was.
And then he popped up behind the benches. And then it's like, because that's what's happening nowadays. We're putting Ed Sheeran in anything. And for those of you who didn't watch Game of Thrones yesterday, sorry. Anyway.
No, don't mention it. Then it's not a spoiler.
That's why I'm still not spoiling it because I didn't say that he gets killed.
I mean, next week we're going to look forward to the big Beyonce dance number with
You liked
with
it?
the
You
Ice
should've-
King and the undead.
And wasn't it good to see the White Walkers there tonight carrying the dishes for Diana and co? Poor Diana, she looked like she was being stalked. Diana's walking her dish up to get judged, and it was the White Walkers behind her.
It's like, do you remember that game Hamish and Andy used to play on Rove?
Yes, the ghosting.
Ghosting, that's right.
So it was, the challenge was, because this is, by the way, how far in we are. We've mentioned who the judges were and that Arum nearly stabbed himself. So
I wonder with those waiters though, or servers I should say,
Yeah.
is if you start doing funny walks, do they have to do funny walks too? Like, could you get them to do the full Genesis Phil Collins walk? I can't dance.
they dropped the dishes. Anyway, so the idea was cook whatever. And they just saw them all go, wow. And I'd like to know what was going through Arum's head, because we'll talk about that in a minute. So they had to draw knives out to see who went in what order. So 3 of them got to do the savoury, and then 2 got to do dessert.
And Arum nearly panicked and went, oh, elimination, don't worry, I'll take Diana out now.
So then Diana decided she was doing squid, and then it was squid with prawn head, with a prawn's head oil. Then it was squid with pea. Then it was squid with cucumber pea, and then cucumber pea and mint, which was the final dish. Every
And
time
then pea juice. You forgot the pea juice. Which, okay.
urine, isn't it?
Yeah. If you actually get that in a recipe form. Mum, why is the pea juice yellow on the plate? Oh, I thought he just meant urine.
That's what pea juice is,
That's what
isn't it?
pea juice is.
And
I made it myself.
and you know my take on peas, so
I know.
it could be much of a muchness.
I was a bit worried when she's looked at them all over the table and she's gone, this is essentially me on a plate. I'm like, what, you're Kermit.
Yeah, and it did look like she'd blended Kermit at the end too.
But it did look pretty.
was
I liked
pretty.
all the nasturtium leaves and...
Look, Kermit had died, but he died for a cause.
Exactly.
That's what you want.
Squiddy cause.
Squiddy cause. And she used the hibachi, and unlike what happened with poor Tamara when she used the hibachi, she didn't set fire to anything. It was great. So poor Tamara, when she used the hibachi in Japan, it's still the only one of the few moments this year. We haven't had that many things catch on fire.
No.
A couple of times, but not as much as you
There's
normally.
been the occasional tea towel and...
Yeah, a little bit here and a little bit there, and occasionally, someone's burnt caramel, someone's looked away for 2 seconds and looked back and...
I was going to get a spatula.
Yeah, exactly.
Poor Eliza.
And then Arum decided to do duck. Now,
Quack.
I absolutely love duck. But,
You made a delicious duck dish, duck noodles last week.
thank you very
That was
much.
great.
However, I would not ever attempt a duck in an elimination challenge in MasterChef.
No.
So much can go wrong. And they were right. I sort of thought about it at the time, and they were right in the judging where Peter Gilmore went, this has the taste of a duck where someone's cooked it early, rested it for far too long, covered it over, and it's just kept cooking. That's exactly what Arum did. He cooked it way too early trying to be organised, and he was so well organised that it actually ended up costing him.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately this is the time of the competition that tiny little mistakes, like blonde as shortbread or whatever,
Yes,
could land you
we'll-
in elimination.
We'll talk about that in a moment. Ben. Notice how I didn't say Gaston for that. I said Ben.
Look, just let it go. It's just a cooking competition. That's what you're telling everyone on Twitter. Settle pedals. It's just a cooking competition. I'm sure that's what you said exactly. Don't look at me like that, sweetheart.
It was blonde. We'll come back to it. All right. So Carly. Now, what worried me about poor Carly was that Gary started stalking her in the pantry. Like, she goes in to get the ingredients, and he turns around and he goes, I love watching you get the ingredients. I was like, that's creepy, Gary. No, Gary, no. Eliza just appears in the corner of the room. No, Gary, no.
Carly's at home in the MasterChef house and she's just, making some toast for a
then-
late night snack, and Gary goes, I like what you make, toast, Carly.
Well, remember last week George was talking about the idea of, I can see her in the window making this. It's like, what? Why are we so creepy towards poor Carly? So, Kaiser flesh and verjuice and bacon, that was the starting of her dish.
And, if you're going to start somewhere and you want it to be good, great place to start.
It is. And then pork loin with mushroom and blueberries. Now, I will admit, much like the judges did, I heard the word blueberries linking in with the idea of the pork loin and the Kaiser flesh and the bacon and the verjuice and the mushroom, and just went, what the hell is that?
But for me, it reminded me of, because you wouldn't want citrus in something like that, but it was like because apples would be too sweet. So it's kind of in between the two. You get the tartness, but with the kind of consistency of an apple.
Oh, it turned out to be genius, but
Yeah.
I would never in a million years have done that.
Bockenberry.
Pork.
I'm presuming that's what she's
It's an
gonna call it.
updated version of pork and beans. Pork and berry.
Bockenberry. I'm going to see it canned.
Now,
Carly's cans of beans with pork.
Now Gaston got a dessert, and I was racking my brain, going, he could do and then I went,
He's doing an ice cream.
fuck it, he's doing an ice cream. Of course, he's doing an ice cream. And not a criticism, because I yelled at the TV, and you can attest to this. When Arum came up and said, I'm doing duck, I yelled at the screen, why aren't you doing steak?
Yeah, or beef.
You know,
Bigger red meat.
like at this point in time, as we said, it's do what you need to do to hang in there. So I don't have a problem with him doing the ice cream. I was, again, the idea of a lavender ice cream with the lavender shortbread, there is a chance that you can...
Over lavender.
Yeah.
You can go down the Yardley's route.
It could be Yardley's, it could be a Glade air freshener.
Did you know my mum worked at Yardley's?
Did she?
Yeah, she did. She told me about it with my auntie Di, who's not like related. They're like
Just a woman called Di who's old enough to be called auntie?
Yeah, well, she's always referred to her as auntie. We had a lot of aunties growing up. Every single one of fucking mum's friends.
We're all auntie?
Auntie.
Yeah, we had a lot of that too.
Yeah.
However, what we didn't mention, by the way, we need to go back to it. We'll come back to you.
Sorry.
We'll come back to you, Gaston, because there's a story that we didn't get that I was actually anticipating. And unusually, you didn't delve into family history.
Which one? Oh, with the duck.
With the duck.
Okay.
Please, because this is actually an appropriate family history story. Go.
Well, I thought I've already told it.
You probably have, but it's really appropriate now.
Okay, so when my brother-in-law, now ex-brother-in-law, first came to the family, I mean, he's Lebanese and, you know, my family's very white. So mum's gone, I better fancy this up. I'm going to cook duck. And she's like, how do you cook a duck? Never cooked a duck before. Well, it's just like a chicken, isn't it? It's a water chicken. So cook it like a chicken.
It's a water chicken.
It's a water chicken.
Never gets old.
So you just pop the water chicken in the oven and give it a cook. Pop it on the plate to serve. Give the knife and the carving fork to my new brother-in-law to carve into, and he does, and it looks like he's just killed Donald Duck because it's bleeding everywhere. So we had pics of that.
Again, it was an appropriate story. I don't care if it's been told. We've told the video story a million times.
Yeah, but that's video. I'm just showing the contestants that there's someone on this podcast who understands the struggles of being on live TV. Or pre-recorded TV.
I'm sorry, I obviously mistook.
Unscripted TV.
Yeah. You mean you weren't given a script where you got Tom Carroll wrong?
No.
Anyway,
I did that all by myself.
Anyway, moving on. So, yeah, Ben made his lavender ice cream with lavender shortbread. There was a moment where Ben goes, I'm working on the honeycomb, and this voice from next to me goes, don't turn away. Don't you dare turn away.
I was coaching you through it, like, keep an eye on the honeycomb. Don't turn away from the honeycomb. You know what happens when this...
Because it was terrifying, because, again, we've become so used to this idea of I turn away for a second, and I was terrified that was the next word out of his mouth. But thankfully, he kept working on it, and the honeycomb worked. Where was that honeycomb the other week, Gaston?
Well,
when it would have helped you, Gaston. It would have helped you.
Can you just settle?
No.
You're going hard on poor Ben. Look, just because you lost Sarah.
I can't lose two.
Who are you going to jump to next? If Ben's eliminated... Trent. Fucking hell. And then what, next? Des?
The Vespa.
The Vespa.
The Vespa will never lose, all right? So my order now in terms of who I would like to win, and again, I legitimately like everyone left in this competition, but my order of who I want to win goes Gaston, and then Trent by some miracle, and if that can't happen, the Vespa. I just want the Vespa to have, like, again, we talked about the hubcap idea.
And then what
I want them
that,
to go
the
in
art
fast.
of cooking?
No. The Vespa will do because the Vespa can't lose. So the Vespa will always win.
Oh, God, Sarah, I wish you didn't get eliminated. He's gone mad.
Yeah, I have. I really have. So let's talk about the idea of tomorrow's dish. Tomorrow goes, I got eliminated on the chocolate, making myself that chocolate cake that she had to make, which involved the mousse.
Yes.
And to be fair, it wasn't so much the mousse that got away from her. It was the ridiculous techniques involving like hovering cakes, and it was weird. Again, it's like the idea of poor Eloise, who went home on the idea of having to strain out a yolk, and fill it up with caramel. You went out on something that was nuts,
or just having to do 3 rounds of egg dishes with only 6 eggs.
Yeah, with 1 egg left at the end, going, if I break this, we're done for.
Well, when Tamara mentioned this, I just suddenly got like the Eye of the Tiger opening back in my head. It's just like, oh, she's going up for the thrill of the fight.
Now, not to be all Paul Hollywood about this. Not to be all Paul Hollywood about this. But there's only 2 ways it can go when you go, I was eliminated. This happened before. I'm going to have one more go at it. Mm-hmm. You can go victoriously. Victorious. Or...
I won't give in.
I won't give in till I'm victorious. I will defend. No. So you can either go with the glorious victory.
Yes.
Which is what that was. Or you go the Jane from Bake Off UK route, which is that I'm going to try to do this over the top. I'm going to try to do a chocolate collar twice. The second time being in the grand final, and you're going to screw it up both times. So there's only 2 ways this can go. For Tamara, in the words of the Grail Knight from Last Crusade, you chose wisely.
I know. She knocked that shit out of the
looked
park.
Incredible.
Next level. To be hitting your stride at this point of the competition is good.
Yep. And again, I think that the worrying in the judging, they were sort of full of enough praise for Diana's where you're like, yeah, they're not going to worry about Diana. Then when they got to Arum's, they basically pointed out the fact he overcooked the duck. And the line of the night from the judges, which let you know Arum was going home, regardless of if that crumb was blonde or not from Gaston. The thing that let you know that Arum was going home was when it opened with the sentence from Matt Preston, interesting.
Yes, and then they were all, I can eat that fennel for days.
That fennel was amazing. You know what? If fennel was the dish, you're okay.
Yes.
If everyone's going, that fennel.
If you had to hero fennel.
Oh, that fennel. Wow, that fennel. That fennel was wonderful. And then everyone went, but the duck. Carly, they didn't spend any time on Carly.
No.
They literally tasted hers, and the sentence that everyone said around, every single person around the table went, now what do you reckon about that? It's not bad for a loin. It's not bad for a loin. Not bad for a loin. Not bad for a loin. And the blueberries. Oh, the blueberries were a great idea. Cut to, let's go get Ben's dish. It's like...
What? Me?
So Carly's dish was okay. It was good enough. We don't need to talk about it. It was weird. The judging was weird. Matt then said that Ben's looked like it was part witches in breeches.
Oh, I loved it.
He got very Dr. Seussy on us for a minute there.
I'm all for things that look a bit spooky and supernatural.
I'm all for the rhyming, as we've seen the last couple of episodes with our wonderful poems from Eloise.
I think we need a poem from Gaston about lavender.
I think so too. The ice cream and the honeycomb for Gaston was delicious. The crumb was underdone. But he knew that, and he said, I'm just going to have to take a chance.
I should have got out a blowtorch and just blowtorch the shit out of that.
Maggie Beer would have sort of been a bit disappointed. And you know who would have been really upset?
Mary Berry.
Mary Berry would have been crying.
Did you blowtorch that meringue?
Oh, no, you blowtorched it.
Ew.
It used to be a baked meringue.
Baked meringue.
Anyway, then Tamara's Chocolate Dome, which was really a redemption dish, and I don't like using those sentences because it just sounds so cliche, but it was a redemption dish.
Yeah.
And it looked amazing. The glaze with the burnt orange centre. Ooh.
I loved her. I could see my face in that glaze, and it's a face of
face of panic
and stress.
I loved it. So
it's hilarious.
So we had to say goodbye to Arum. And we were talking about Arum before we recorded, and as we said, he sort of, the start of the competition, he had a feeling of one of those contestants who was going early.
Yeah.
And like, it was one of those when Ray was having his struggles and Pete was having his struggles and Arum was the other one that you were like, okay, the three of them are going to probably go fairly early.
It's like, I kind of looked at those three as the markers of this is where the chaff will be sorted from the wheat. Once these three go, then we know we've got the wheat.
And then Arum in the last 3 weeks just went crazy and hit his stride and was just nailing everything he did. So,
well, he's really been nurtured in that environment. He's just used it to his advantage.
And he's an example of what we mean when we say if you do the same thing, but you evolve it as you do it, it works. And for Arum, he worked with steak and beef so well that it just got better and better and better as it went along. It's like when Sarah would use pork. It's like Gaston developing his ice creams.
Yep.
It's the idea of if you take something and you can keep growing it and developing it, then it doesn't matter if you do the same thing.
Yep, that's
but
correct.
if you don't develop it, that's the problem. So
I think it's also they organically came into finding their talent, whereas like Callum, for instance, was trying to crowbar it.
yeah, and I think again he was being pushed into crowbarring it.
Yeah, rather
The
than
judges were like over the top stage parents.
yeah.
Cook granita, damn it! Give me another granita.
No, you get back out on that stage and you make me a granita. But Mum, no, you will make me a granita.
But I just want to sing. Make me granita. So I think that it was probably Arum's time to go. But what a run at the end there.
Oh, absolutely.
Sensational.
Yeah,
He's not going to struggle.
absolutely.
Long term, he won't struggle. So tomorrow night,
It's a dinner with Heston.
it's cooking Heston dishes for Heston customers.
It looks like, okay, just when you think things couldn't be more intense in this competition this week, they go to fucking new lengths. Like tomorrow night. Holy
They all look broken.
shit.
At the end of it, they all look broken. Like when they showed the faces at the end there, all of them just looked devastated.
Diana looked like she was on fast forward chopping whatever she was chopping at the bench. Like, it's like, wow.
So it looks insane, which means it's going to be brilliant.
And it's 40 covers. Like, each of them have to do 40 dishes.
Yeah, that's going to be crazy. So look out for that one. And then obviously the one person goes through and the other three go into elimination on Thursday.
Yep.
Which will then lead us towards
Sunday,
which I'm now assuming that the grand final's Monday.
Well,
Because we'll be down to 3
yeah.
and the grand final's 2. So I'm assuming that then Sunday night will be 3 to 2 and then Monday night will be the grand final, what they did last year.
That makes sense because then they can pump the final on radio and TV.
They can pump it on radio,
Monday.
on TV, they can get everyone everywhere. And more importantly, we get 2 podcasts out of it.
Yeah.
And that's what we care about here at The Washing Up. Now, I did ask for another poem.
Who wrote you one?
Now, I asked...
Did Lisa Romano, because I hope it's full of puns.
I asked young Eloise for a poem.
Oh.
And the poem that she gave me was...
Is it a haiku?
I am sick, I am dying, R.I.P. me. So
It is a haiku. It's a high die.
much
It's
like
a daiku.
much like us, poor Eloise has been under the weather. So we send our best to you, Eloise, and
Get well
hopefully you get
soon.
well soon. You know, again, you should be able to be enjoying watching finals week, not feeling like you're dying. And with that, my name's Chris,
And I'm Christy.
and we will catch you all later.
Ciao.